Join the Stream Team and be a part of the streaming network. Our goal is to help you succeed.
Here we go. I am DJ Strick, and you are on the Stream Show. And I have, man, such an awesome guest today, Kevin Kolbe. So honored to have you on the show. We have so much to talk about. Guess why? Because you, sir, as a content creator coach, have done so much, not just in the content streaming world, but you actually have done this for years, starting in radio and working for some affiliate stations like NBC, ABC, all of that. We want to talk about it all, but as we get started today, of course, we want to tell some of our great friends like Mr. Camera Junkie, who says hello, everyone. We want to say hello to him as well. And as you're coming in, guys, please let us know that you're here with us. And there he is as well, Tech Troublemaker, that's saying hello to you, Kevin. And it's great to have him with us as well. So, Kevin, man, you have become like one of the staples of the Stream Show. Like, I've had you for each and every season of our show.
Yeah.
You keep coming back, man. I now appreciate it.
Look, I have this standing rule when I get a DM from Strick that goes, "Can you?" It's like, yes. Now what? I mean, it's just the way it is. But yeah, I don't even know our first show, but it's always a blast. You're so good. You always look good, and it's just I enjoy chatting, and then before we know it, the time's gone. So yeah, always.
That happens all the time. So if you can tell,
yeah.
I do have some new stuff in the studio. I need to get out of the way because I need everybody to see that handsome guy right there.
Yeah.
Now check him out.
It's like, I've never been in a position where I'll ever have my big fat head on a billboard somewhere, but it kind of feels that way. It's like, okay. I mean, it's a good looking picture, but yeah.
That's pretty cool,
I'd rather
man.
look at your picture back there. That's better.
I was trying to get my picture out. So I will tell you this, it sounds good to have a monitor behind you until you have a monitor behind you. You figure out that there's a lot of other stuff that you have to do to make it make sense.
Oh, yeah.
In the studio, it doesn't show that way. Like, it's really dim. I have to turn it all the way down. Basically, the brightness is all the way down because when it's all the way up, it's too bright to be behind me.
Yeah. You got to worry about the reflection. And yeah, it's all those things that like look good until you get it out there. And it looks great, but it's like, yeah, it's a whole different world of, okay, now I got to figure this out. Oh, well, now I've got to figure this out.
Exactly. So there's so much stuff that's going on, but of course we're always kind of digging and diving into the next thing. But I'm noticing something here with you that I don't know if that I saw the last time. The Rogue mic. Like, what is this? Did you just pick that up?
Now, I've had it for a bit. I think the one I used before this, I keep playing with mics. It's one of those, like, I've got everything I need. Oh, look at that. And for a while I was using the Samsung Q2U, which is a phenomenal mic, extremely affordable, but I tried this out and love it. Absolutely love it. And it's on the Rode boom arm, which I think is the only boom arm I've ever had that stays exactly
in the
where
right place.
Yeah. And if you're watching this and you've never used a boom arm, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. That's so true.
Yeah.
So I had this thing that I did, and we're going to jump right into the show as people are coming on Equip Institute. Thank you for hanging out with us. She's saying hello to Roy. When I first got started, Kevin, it was right in the midst of the pandemic. And I needed to know how to stream based on my job. And we were getting our church streaming for the very first time. So I didn't know how long I would do this. Like, if it's something that I would really get into and do for a long time. So I went cheap on everything. Like, everything I bought cheap. $13 arm that you could use with mics and all of that. And, $13 arm is not going to stay in place, and it's going to squeak. No. So if you move it in your show, people are going to hear everything. So I had to rebuy all of the stuff.
Yeah.
I had to rebuy everything.
Yeah. I think I had that same $13 arm, which, it'd be like,
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
I'm not one of those guys. I don't, you don't have to spend a ton of things to have something nice, but there's some times where maybe spending a little bit more on something, it may last longer, it may give you more. I have fallen in love with the DJI wireless mic, and it's not
Okay.
cheap, but man alive, it works. I don't even think I've ever charged it up since I've had it, and I've had it quite a while. And so there's some things like that, But you go back to that Samsung Q2U mic, I think it's like what, $70,
Right. It is. I've heard a lot of
but it's
good
a good
things
mic.
about it.
Yeah, it's a really good mic. Yeah.
So you guys know that if you get a couple of content creators together, we're going to talk about equipment. I am so sorry about that. This is not the equipment show.
Yeah.
Kevin here has been a content creator for a very long time, even before we were using the word content creator, working in media, multimedia for years. But now he's taken all of that experience and he's helping people just like you. Content creators. So part of what he's doing as he's creating content, he's coaching people.
Mhm.
So that being said, one of the things I want to talk about today, just to kind of get started,
Yeah.
in 2023, Kevin, like there is so much to do and so much volatility in the market when it comes to content creations, whether
Yeah.
we're doing shorts or not doing shorts, whether we are podcasting, audio podcasts or video podcasts. Like there's so many things that people are saying. How do you get down to the root for a client? So if you had somebody that you were coaching and they had all of these questions, where do I start?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, and I think the temptation is to chase, what do you chase, the shiny object, which
Right.
I can do and have done. And I've got to be everywhere, I've got to do everything. And I want to write a book, I want to start a podcast, I want to do video, I want to do this and stuff like that. And so it's trying to get them sometimes to focus just on one thing. um Thankfully I've had some clients, and some of them have become friends, which to me is like, that's just the coolest thing, quite honestly. The
Right.
fact that you can help somebody, but the fact that, like, they want to hang out when, your agreement is up. And, some of them have just wanted to launch video podcast shows, or they want to do a little bit more. And so when they do that, it's like, well, then let's just focus on YouTube. Let's just focus on YouTube. Let's focus on one thing. Now you can take that and it can become a podcast and maybe a blog for your website. And that's about as far deep as I get it. I try and dissuade them if they're like, well, now I need to be on Instagram and Twitter. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you don't need to be on LinkedIn. Maybe you don't need to do all these other things. And I'll get it out of the way now. I don't like TikTok. I'm not a fan of TikTok. I've deleted my last account on TikTok. So it's about trying to
Get
find
it.
out exactly what they need, and then balance that with what they want, and then what they can do, and then just help them along, and also get them to know it's it's a long journey.
Right.
Some of it can happen faster, but even YouTube, as amazing YouTube is, and yeah, people go viral. Don't make that the goal. I can't stand these videos about how to go viral. If it was that easy, everybody'd be viral.
Listen, point taken. And I really do understand that. So I have a couple people that I work with, and basically the goal is to make the content
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
allow
Yeah.
the audience to allow yourself some time to figure out where your
Yeah.
audience is. If
Yeah.
something goes viral, that's great. If it doesn't go viral, that's great as well. You're
Yeah.
learning some things. Number one, how to create great content, and then who your audience really is. So
Yeah.
that being said, like we have an audience that is worldwide. Dr. Stewart is with us today from Scotland.
Scotland.
So I don't
Yeah.
have an accent to be able to do that. I got my southern accent and I can't get away from it. But thank you from Scotland. And then I also want to shout out Kimberly G, who says hello. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We are helping content creators. And, I started with that one question for you, Kevin,
Mhm.
but this week we were talking, and guys, I do want to say this. Tech Troublemaker is helping us. Evergreen has the staying power, which is so very true. You can usually get shots for viral stuff. So that is it's a very, very good point to be made when it comes down to what type of content.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
we're talking today, Kevin, you and I talked earlier this week because potentially you would have been out of your studio today based upon you and your son. You have a special needs son that was having some complications, and you may not have been at home, but you wanted to come on and kind of share from a content creator coach or a content creator. All of us have our own personal lives that are going on, and we have so many, obstacles and difficulties with this. Is there something you would say to a new content creator as you're coaching them that you may not would have said before as a coach, knowing the experience you've had with your special needs son?
Yeah, and I'll take it all the way back to when I was in TV, and I was a creative director at a station for a long time, and that was my last little stint in television before I started just doing my own thing. And I realized that if I allowed the job to run me, it would. And so, I'd be at a red light, and let me check my email, and I had notifications on my phone and all this other stuff. And then I realized that I wasn't even having time for me. Now, we've actually got 3 kids, an older son and a daughter, and then our youngest one. And the youngest one is the one that has special needs. And, my wife and I had established some things, like, we would always have dinner together, and there'd be no phones at the table. And, and if the phone rang, we wouldn't get it, and we do like movie night and stuff like that. But I think part of it is just having the boundaries. Now, the fact that, I work for myself, I mean, I always like to say, my office studio space is a renovated bedroom, and it's the
Got you.
upstairs of our home. So, I joke in the morning, I'm heading to the office, and I grab my coffee and go upstairs. But, the blessing I have is that I can adjust my schedule based on what our son needs.
Got you.
And I think, you know, you have to get over the guilt, and you have to give yourself a lot of grace. I mean, I've had to cancel some things. When and what Strick is talking about is our youngest son has been fighting pneumonia, and he's having some other issues. And so they wanted to put him in the hospital, do a breathing test and some other things to just see if they could fix his lung, or help retrain his lungs. And so I messaged him and I said, "Hey, we're going to the hospital on Friday." And I think this was Friday when I messaged you. And what do you want to do? If you want to go, I'll go. And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And I'm like, I'm good with that. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, I can do my laptop, I can do, a mic, I can do this and stuff like that. And the fact that, I've had to cancel some things before. And the nice thing is, I'll have to say, I mean, there's been a few times where I've had to move things around with a client. It happened not too long ago. A guy I was coaching, I needed to adjust our session and message him. And I said, "Hey, look, he knew I had a special needs son." I said, "The doctor wants to see him now. Would you be okay with sliding it down?" He goes, "Oh, thank you. I'd actually love to. I wasn't ready for the call." And then we get on the
Right.
call. The first thing he says is, "How's your son?"
Right.
And I think, we're in a world where just, unfortunately still fake sells. And we don't really, I mean, there's always so much of the realness people see of us anyway. But I think the thing is, when I know people are out there and they're going through anything that I might can relate to, all of a sudden it's like, okay, there's a little difference there. It's
Right.
hard for me to relate to a gazillionaire, on his yacht talking about, having a bad day because, his waiter didn't, messed up his eggs. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, I don't get that. My Mr. Coffee didn't work last week. That's about as
Right.
much as I can relate. So I think it's about knowing what you can and can't do and being okay with it. Peter McKinnon said once on a podcast, and I wish I'd written it down. It's like, we as creators often put restrictions on ourselves that nobody else is asking us to do. And all
Got
of a
you.
sudden that starts driving us. And it's like, yeah, I want to publish a video every week, but you know what? If I don't get one done this week, I don't get one done. I just don't. And if I can get 2 done next week, then I'll do that. And I think it's just making sure you don't, I'm not a fan of the hustle culture and the grind thing. I mean, I think it does more harm than good. And I think a lot of times younger creators feel like that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. And it's
I
like,
gotta hustle. I gotta get to the top.
yeah. And when you get tired and you're burned out, then what?
And
What do you
most
got?
of them, like I always say this, and maybe it's because of my time. The faster you go up, the faster you come down.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you can find a
Yep.
way, even with going viral, like there's a lot of people that have gone viral from stuff, and guess what? They haven't had a second viral video
Yeah. Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
content that they went viral with maybe wasn't what they did or what
Yeah.
excited them.
Yeah.
And I do want to interject this. The principal is in the building, so anytime that we get Miss Kathy Walker to come through, it is a good day. And then Eric is also hanging out with us, saying hello to all the Ecamm friends. Thank you, Eric, for hanging out with us today. We are talking to Kevin Kolbe. He is a content creator coach who is raising a special needs son. And we've talked about how that could change his coaching style. And he just went
Yep.
down a list of things that has affected how he coached people and the scenarios that go with, in his job. Like, I need to be free to be able to move. For people that may have obstacles, special needs children, and everything else that go along, is this industry like one of the better ones because of the flexibility of it?
Well, I think it depends on. That's a great question, and I can only speak for where I've been. I mean, the company I did work for when I got out of television was an extremely family friendly company. Now, I was the creative director. I had a team. So I also had to make sure that I didn't do something that I wouldn't allow my team to do. So
Right.
if I'm like, hey, I'm really going to, I need to work from home tomorrow. Well, then I need to remember that they may need to work from home. So I never wanted to get in a situation where like, well, no, I can, but you can't. So you got to be careful about that. I mean, I think it all just comes down to where you are in life. I mean, I have an amazing wife, and we are at a place where I can do this. I can create remotely. I can do things from here, and the majority of the clients, well, coaching is different, but the ones that I've done some production for have mostly been local,
Got you.
and most of them, I think you're they know. I mean, I'm a pretty open book, so you can figure out a little bit about me by just looking online. So I think, is it a good profession? I think if you are in a position, I mean, I love working for myself. I mean,
Right.
I'm a solo creator. My staff meetings, they're over like that. They're great, right? There's nobody there.
The one-on-one staff meetings
The
you got to
one-on-one
have.
staff meetings are
Hey,
great.
guys, let's get it together today.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, you. But but that may not work for everyone. And it does for me. Now I'm everything in there and stuff like that. So I've never advocated that somebody should quit their job and jump into this. I think you got to be smart, and some people don't want to.
Right.
But I think, if going in that you can kind of adjust, like I use Google Calendar, right? And I block out stuff, and I give leeway and things like that. And also knowing that any parents out there know that if your kids are younger, there's only so much of your schedule that you can really control. And then if you have a special needs child, I mean, you have to be prepared for that. I mean, I've edited videos in the hospital room, and
Wow.
you make it work. But I think the biggest thing is just being upfront with your clients, because I'll be honest, I would rather a client tell me that they've had something come up. I tell you what, I give an example without sharing a name. Not too long ago, I was supposed to be on a coaching call with a client, and like a couple hours before, he'd left a message a few hours before. He'd been at a football game, and his daughter, something happened, and they had to take her to the ER. And he's calling me from his car, middle of the night, apologizing.
Wow.
And my comment back to him is, you do what you need to do. Family is
Right.
always going to be first, and not worry about it. And so I think you have to be willing to realize that things happen, people have lives, and sometimes life gets unscripted and we can't control it. So
That's true.
I love what I do. The fact that I get to create content, to help people create it with somebody else, help them create, and that's great. So for me, it works, and I think it's been a blessing that I work on my own because I can adjust my schedule. If we had ended up staying at the hospital several days, I can do that. And I
Right.
can work from there. I'd have been alive from there tonight. So
Right.
you got to really look at your own situation, your support team and things like that, and or your support group and stuff like that, if spouse or something, and see if you can make it work.
I love it. So, guys, I know you're out there watching us today talk about being a content creator coach and having some life issues and obstacles and how you overcome that. If you have a question tonight, all I want you to do is put a Q colon in front of that question. Kevin is here. I'm going one-on-one with him, but you have the opportunity to ask him questions as well. And we were talking, and Marcus actually has a statement: don't measure effort, measure results. And then Eric here has a very funny line. His staff meetings, I look in the mirror and yell at myself, done. Listen, I've had some of those staff meetings as well.
Yeah.
I had to tell myself, get your craft together. Let's go.
Yeah. 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 I talk to myself quite a bit. I think I got that from my mom. So
Hey, listen, I have to do it when it's crunch time, and I don't want to be up all night. So my mind runs, and I got to edit some stuff. Like, you need to stop and just focus on this, and I don't do it until it's like way late at night, early in the morning, and I really want some rest. Like, I can't go without rest, so I have to really kind of make myself focus. So as you're dealing with clients and you're coaching people, what are some of the strategies that you're using now based on where we see some trends are going?
Well, I mean, I want to find out what they're doing. Most of the time, the people I'm coaching are wanting to do video. Sometimes they don't know anything about gear. They don't know what to get. They've got their phone. They're apologizing for that, which is like, nope, we can do some amazing things with that. And it's trying to get them past all that fear of gear and not worrying about how it's set up and things like that to creating content. Something you said, I thought about, a lot of times, and I share this all the time. People will say, well, I want to do video, but I don't know what my first video should be. And I'm like, make that your first video. Because the
Right.
reality of it is we're going to put things out there and the majority of the world may never see it.
Right.
Especially as you're beginning and you're kind of learning, you may already know your own voice and how you are. Unless you're an actor, I wouldn't do a persona. I'd be you. And
Right.
as endearing or as annoying as I am, this is pretty much me if we ever run into each other, right? Sorry about that or whatever. But I think if as long as they understand kind of what they want to do and help them get comfortable with it, because I've had clients where they're great like this until they realize, oh, I'm recording.
Right.
And then they kind of get, they start worrying about it too much. And one of the things I say to them is, you're thinking about it too much. It's like one of the things I used to do is when I would interview folks that weren't used to being interviewed, a lot of times I would start rolling, meaning taping or
Right.
filming before they knew. Now, I mean, again, they knew we were going to do an interview, right? This wasn't like a 60 minutes, trap. And
Right.
so, because what I found is if if they didn't know we were recording, it kind of like, okay. And it disarmed them a little and we would just have a conversation. And I
Right.
think that helps them. So, I think it's funny because a lot of the clients, they struggle with where to look. And so it's like removing those distractions because, I don't know, I don't remember your setup, but my camera is actually above my monitor. So I'm
Gotcha.
not even looking at, I mean, now I'm looking at you.
Right.
Now I'm looking at the camera. So that makes it a difference. But it's like just trying to see what they really want to do and how they want to do it. I mean, I had one client that really he had all the talent. He just kept coming up with all the reasons not to do it. And that's one of the things we worked through. is just launch the video podcast you want to do. Let's go with it and kind of work on that. And
Right.
again, it's kind of like, what do they want to do, and why do they want to do it, and how to help them do it, and be willing to adjust my strategy for them. If there's a client and it's like, we typically do thing XYZ, but they're better at a different part of it over here, then let's focus on that rather than try and have them, fit into a bucket
Got you.
that just doesn't work for them.
In the beginning, focus on the part that you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that. So I do have a couple of things. Eric is talking to us here. Talk to myself. So we're all a little crazy. Welcome to the family. That is so true.
I like
And
that.
Marcus is saying, hey, you got to push through the fear, which you really
Absolutely.
do. You really, really
Absolutely.
do. But Kimberly has a question here as a solo producer, which we talked about just last week. Everybody that has Ecamm, you guys are producers. So you're a host. You may be graphic artists. You may be executive producers. You may be the person that calls the guests
Mhm.
and get guests on. You have so many titles, but yes, you are a producer if you're
Yeah.
using Ecamm Live by yourself. What tech tools are your go-tos?
So let me see. I mean, Ecamm is one, and I'm not saying that because we're on Ecamm. I also use StreamYard, but I'm an Ecamm user. Ecamm is usually my go-to for screen recording, video podcasting, recording. A lot of times, I've got two setups in my office. So if I'm at here, I just fire up Ecamm and record. It's just easy.
Right.
Um, Other ones I use Upbeat for music. I like Upbeat. They approached me. It's not a sponsorship, but they approached me a while back and said, "Will you try out our stuff?" And I really like it. I edit on Final Cut. There's a company called Motion VFX that I have a lot of their
Hmm.
plugins for, because that will save you a ton of time. When you can have plugins that will automatically do animations and cool graphics and stuff like that, that you can just go in and do some stuff. I think hopefully this is answering her question. Canva, huge Canva fan.
I am too.
Um, all of my
Every
graphics.
day. Every
Oh,
day.
yeah, yeah. All of my graphics are done on there. Trying to think what else I use as far as I'm actually looking at my Stream Deck because I have my shortcuts on there. You know, it's probably not a techie thing, but I'm a Mac guy, so I use Apple Notes for everything. I use it
Everything,
to
brother. Yep.
write, do things. Now there is I also use the Chrome browser, so there's also a program not a program. What do you call it? An extension called Pocket. It's actually a website, and what it does is if I'm surfing somewhere and I like an article, I save it to my Pocket, and I can go back later and read it or look at it. And you may say, well, that's not a techie thing, but it helps me just capture stuff that I can go back to later. Um,
Got it.
I mean, I think that pretty much covers more of the techie things. There's probably something I left off. I don't remember.
I like that. I have follow-up questions to that as well. But before I ask that question, I want to say what's up to Alex, who's hanging out with us today. So thank you
Hey,
so very much, Alex, saying what's up to us. And then my man Irvin Fryer is hanging out. What's up, brother? Thank you for hanging out with us. And of course, you said you love Canva. We all love
oh,
Canva. Like if we can
love it.
all get endorsed from Canva as much as I know I talk about it and use it, we'll
Oh
be
yeah,
doing really, really good. And there's my guy, DJ Right On Beat, hanging out with us. How are you doing, sir? And yes, that was an answer to her question. Like, hey, you are the content creator coach. Of course, you can answer that question. That was an easy one. If someone is getting started as a
yeah.
producer, as a host, and as a show, how important is it for them? I don't want to lead or frame this question, but this is the only way I can think about it right now, Kevin. How important is it for them to keep it simple?
Oh, extremely. And trust me, um, I there's two things. So I don't journal, but I buy these things on Amazon because they look really cool when people talk about journaling.
Right.
But I do take notes a lot, and there's two things I've written down in several of these I have. Stop overthinking it and stop overproducing it. And I don't write that for any of you. I write that for me. Um, you know, part of I was talking to somebody the other day, and we had similar backgrounds, that we came from the television world, right? broadcasting. So, everything is overproduced. I shouldn't say everything is produced to the hilt there, right?
Right.
And so you carry that into our world, and it's easy for me not to overproduce and stuff like that. And it's like, how much does it really need? How much do I
Right.
really need to edit that? How many graphics do I need to slap on that? And, sometimes I think simple is best. And it's funny because Strick and I were talking about this right before we went
Right
on.
before we came on. That's true.
I have a one camera setup here, and I actually had an ATEM Mini. It's basically a little fancy camera switcher, right? You can plug a lot of different things in there. And I thought, why do I have it? And you know why I had it? Because I might add
Right.
some of my other cameras to it. Why? Because I think we get so caught up in it. And so what I would say to anybody out there who's just starting out is keep it as simple as you can to focus on you getting more confident, not even better, just confident about your message and things like that. If you've never edited before and you want to, start with iMovie or something.
Right.
Don't get the biggest thing out there. Use your phone or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I think simplicity, not even just for newbies. I think, I don't need personally a 5 camera switched shot changing all the time, because now I'm like, okay, what the heck was the question? I forgot. And I think there's this illusion out there, some like, well, people only have a short attention span, and so if I do this, it'll keep them entertained. But the problem is, I think you're putting the focus on the wrong thing, as opposed to, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? What's the real content?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I've been knocked before for using this example, but Joe Rogan's podcast has 2 cameras, maybe 3. It's 2 guys sitting around talking, sometimes for hours. There's a
Right.
camera on Joe, there's a camera on the other guy, and typically there's 1 camera on both of them. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And I think he's got the money. He could buy more cameras, but he
He
doesn't.
could. He could. They have cameras all the way around. Sometimes he looks at things on the TV that you can't see.
Yes.
Pull
Yes.
this up on
Yeah.
you can't see the television. I think one time I saw it, but because it was too bright, you couldn't really see what they were talking about.
Yeah.
All of those things really come to play. I feel like over my time with the stream show, Strict City show, and then a couple other shows that I'm doing, I just found that making it simple was better for me as the host and the producer, because now I can be more engaged to the conversation, and the content is better than having it switch every 30 seconds.
Yeah. And let me throw one more thing out if I can. And by the way, your stuff, for as long as I've ever known you, looks
thank you.
Oh, so good.
Thank you.
It looks so good.
Thank you.
But in terms of simplifying, this is how I simplify my production process and my life, right? So if I'm going to put a mic on my camera, I even try and plug the mic in that is powered by the camera.
Okay.
Rather than a mic that that I've got to charge up later.
Okay.
Meaning that, that's one less thing I've got to worry about. So like I'm a big fan of the Rode Video Mic Go 2, which is a shorter version of the other one, because it's powered by the camera, because I don't want to get there and think, oh man,
that's the new one, right? Isn't that that's the new one they released? They just released it, right?
Well, no, this one is that. Yeah, they released that one. I may be saying the wrong one, but I think it's the Rode Video Mic Go 2. It's short. It's about this big. I've actually got it. It's back here on one of my other cameras. I don't mind getting it, but I have my comfy pants on. What is a Sunday night, people?
I understand.
Yeah, but again, that's how you can simplify it. There's nothing wrong with having a mic, going to a recorder, and syncing the audio. That's fine. But if I can eliminate that step, it makes my production easier. Now, I don't want to sacrifice the sound,
right?
If it's a horrible mic, but again, it's not overproducing the production. And as a solo creator, I have to think about stuff like that. It's like I don't have a crew following me. I am the crew. If
I
I get
love
sick,
it.
I ain't no
Th-
shoot.
that is so true. That is so true. And I gotta shout out my girl Gigi that's hanging out with us tonight in the comments. Thank you for coming through. I had a chance, Gigi, to look back at the video we did together, and there's so many comments. You need to go back to that and see the comments because people are watching it in the replay. So shouts out to you, Kevin. I have a client, a friend of mine, that is going viral on all platforms. Started on TikTok, went to Instagram, and is on Facebook.
Wow.
I'm not sure that YouTube hadn't gone viral yet, but Facebook is definitely hundreds of thousands of views
Wow.
on
That's cool.
Reels. She's doing inspirational messages. So, inspiring messages, affirmations, and all this kind of stuff. I did not know how big of a field that is, but that is another field that's really huge in
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
She doesn't want a microphone in her shot. She's actually using her home office, which there's not a lot of outside of the cameras. You can't see. There's not a lot of things on the wall. There's a
Yeah.
huge echo. Okay,
Mm.
so the echo is bad, but she's getting all the views. I am like in my coaching with her. I went down the gamut of things that could possibly work to kind of help. Um, of course, a microphone in the shot is something she doesn't want. I think that would
Yeah.
help be the best thing, but she
Yeah.
didn't want that
Yeah.
because she's now going viral with a particular look. Is there any advice you would give to her to kind of help her with her audio?
Yeah, and just let me know where to send the bill. No, I'm just joking.
I know, right?
No, no, no.
This
So
free coaching, I love it.
here's where I would challenge her is I don't think you've gone viral because of there's no mic in your shot. We as content creators get we were talking about this too. We are so conscious of things that I don't think most viewers care about.
Care
I
about.
just don't. Now, I can speak to the microphone in the shot or not because I went through this whole thing myself where it's like, well, I don't want the mic in the shot, and I was trying to rig it up. And I remember talking to my wife about it, and she said, honey, I think people realize there's a microphone somewhere at this point. It's
Right,
not like, this isn't like in the 1920s where they didn't understand how this stuff was going together. And I thought, well, that's true. I personally would never not watch something because there's a mic in the shot or there is or
right,
not, whatever. Now, if the mic is covering my face or it's way over here where you can't hear me, that's an issue. So
right,
my thing is that it sounds like that it's more of an aesthetic look thing rather than anything else. Again, think about this. Whoever saw the first videos that were growing, I doubt anybody ever said, well, I really like that person because there's no mic in the shot. I really
right,
don't. Now, as far as echo and stuff like that, so like I know there's a little bit of echo in mine, but I was watching a creator today, and what did he say? He goes, look, I've done some sound treatment in my studio, and his space was about the same as mine, if I remember right. And he said it's not perfect, but you know what? I'm not building a sound recording studio. And I thought, ooh, I got to remember that. But you can hang some sound panels, you can hang some blankets. I remember back in the TV days we were doing a segment with one of our anchors, and she lived in a home that had just enormously high ceilings. And if you're not used to audio, it's just going to go straight up. And
right.
so we literally just got a couple of poles and hung a blanket over her,
Got
just
you.
out of camera shot. And what it did is it kind of trapped the sound. Now the beauty is, like I'm in Final Cut now. I mean, I edit in Final Cut, and I think Premiere's got something like this, but I know Final Cut. I mean, they've got a new feature called voice isolation, and I've done a video on this, and it's insane. You turn it on, and it will isolate your voice using the AI. I did it on a busy street with one of these little, monster trucks that drove by, and it's just gone. So there's some things you can do in post, but trying to put a blanket up, and again, it doesn't have to be a sound blanket. It could be a quilt. It could just be
Right.
something out of that. But I do believe if you could get her to just try it with the mic and just challenge her. Just challenge her. You
Got you.
know, if say, I tell you what, if one person comments about, wow, you'd be a lot better if that mic wasn't in camera, wasn't in the shot. If one person, then you'll give her $100 or something like that. And my gut is you'll never spend that money.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it makes sense. I do believe that people make this statement when you have good audio, they say you look really good. Because
You
our
do. Yeah.
brains don't have the ability,
Yeah.
and most times you wouldn't say you sound good because you're looking at the person, but
Yeah.
the brain is being pleased by great audio. So the
Well, that's
opposite
it.
of great audio is bad audio, which
Yes.
makes
Yeah.
you look bad. No
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
how good you really look, people are their brains is trying to understand what you're saying and the echo. And it's just the fact that she wanted to level up. I think
Yeah.
her going viral has already showed that, like you said, the audience don't really care that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the content that makes the difference. I think she's getting more visibility and would
Yeah.
really like to have better audio, which I recommend having
Yeah.
better audio. I just, sometimes when people are having multiple videos that go viral, like my first thing to say is always double down.
Yeah.
And double down means that you don't change anything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, but I
it,
mean,
it
she could go with a lav, she could hide a mic, she could do a lot of different things. I mean, I'm personally not a fan of the big mic, the Rode or the DJI right here, even though I like it. But at the same time, I've watched videos and I forget it's there after a while. I
right,
think it depends on what you're watching. We're accustomed to interviews, where even on YouTube or broadcast or whatever, where you don't see the mic unless they do one of those wide shots, where you can see the talent and all the lights and all the producers standing around with their clipboards, you know, but most of the time you don't see the gear.
right.
But again, what's the vibe and stuff like that. So it's exciting that she's or the client, I don't know if you said she or not, but
Yeah,
that
she going viral.
that
Like
she's
it's
having that
awesome.
much
She's
success.
having
Yeah.
some real
Yeah.
success. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be
Yeah.
reading affirmations. Like if this is what people are doing, but
Yeah.
she's doing really well with it. We actually started with a 30-day challenge in November for all
That's
this
cool.
kind of happening. Like she was going viral on TikTok, just needed some more consistency. And we
Yeah.
started with a 30-day challenge. And she took that 30-day challenge and then expanded to
Yeah.
the other platforms. And all of them absolutely love her.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
really, really cool seeing it. I can't say that I have a big role in it, no more than helping her and kind of holding her hand. And she just has taken the opportunity and really has got a great fan base. So the next thing is having some call to actions, and she has an affirmation book and journal and all that kind of stuff. She's set to go. She is set to go. So it is okay. How can all of these numbers, what do they really mean? Because
Yeah.
people don't know, Kevin, what these numbers really mean. When you have
Oh, yeah.
hundreds of thousands of views, like is Facebook really paying? Is TikTok really paying? Is Instagram really paying the money? We're all big on YouTube because we know that
Yeah.
YouTube pays the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
she's in that ecosystem on some of the other platforms. So let's see what kind of revenue she can bring out of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
shouts out to my man, Mr. Riley, here hanging out on the west side. Thank you for coming through today. We're talking to Kevin Kolbe, and it is always so much information I learned from you. More importantly, I like the fact that you're honest, you're true, you have tons of experience in this content creator world and using equipment and all this kind of stuff. And your perspective always comes with a story. So it's not, they'll just do this or just do that. Like you have so much experience with clients, with your own job, that it just makes a lot of sense when you say this, about it this way, think about it that way, mic in a shot, mic out of the shot. We know that it's all preference, but I want to be honest with you, Kevin. I just really got the microphone out of the shot because most people had the microphone in the shot.
Yeah. Well, and look, I've experimented on my setup at the desk of running a boom off my camera plugged into the camera and just sometimes I did it because also got this from my mom. I talk with my hands,
Right,
and
I do too.
whacking the mic. I mean, which is another reason I don't have the mic on the stand. Which,
Damn.
from an aesthetic standpoint, I actually like that look. When
Right.
it's on the desk. But again, you bump, in fact, I had one at one point, and I'd be thumping on the desk or something like that, or clicking on the keyboard, and it would be picking it up. So, you know, I can't say I'm not I am a fan of the clean shot, we call it. But at the same time, it's easy for me. I mean, it's just, I pull the mic over, I fire up the camera, and I'm talking. And it's a stylistic thing.
It
Now,
is.
that mean the next time you have me on, hopefully you will, I'll have a different mic. Yeah, I
I
may.
know
I
it.
may
It'll
not.
be a different one. Last time I had you on, you really had a different mic. I'm like, well, okay, I see you with the Rogue mic. So I
Yeah.
have a friend of mine that I've known for years that even when I was traveling, doing some DJ work here in the city, I would rent some equipment from him. One day I went in to, I don't know, buy some cables or something. I always look around because he also has used equipment.
Mm.
And I'm looking at the microphones that he has. You just never know if he had an SM7B in there used or
Oh yeah.
something. You just never know. He had the Sennheiser
Oh
416
yeah.
used, and I couldn't even see a price tag on it. And um, a guy had a studio with tons of equipment, barely used equipment. He passed. His wife actually
Mm.
sold all the equipment to this guy. So he has tons of studio quality equipment,
Oh
barely
man.
used. And I got the best deal on the Sennheiser.
Oh, that's nice.
Now,
Yeah.
without having the Sennheiser, I've watched all the videos, and it's very hard to tell which microphone to go with.
Mm. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even having the Sennheiser, uh, the best that you can kind of get to do this, you still have to set it up right, and you
Yeah.
have to have the right settings. It's not plug and play. It's
Yeah.
not that.
Oh yeah.
Like, you really have to know what you're doing, and I don't. I just listen to my videos all the time and try my best to see whether I need to have a little bit better mic
Yeah.
placement,
Yeah.
whether I need to turn it up, whether I need to have a little additional compression. I know I can get off axis just a little bit, and it goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
I know if I'm right here on it, looking into the mic, it just works
Sounds
for
great.
me. But I also know if I had the SM7B sitting in front of me right now, like close to my mouth, it'll sound a little better. It'll
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
resonance of my voice, the
Yeah.
deepness and richness of my voice would be picked up from that mic as well. So if I'm doing something and I know I'm going to podcast it, and I'm
Yeah.
on somebody else's show, guess what? I'm grabbing that mic as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think that's an important point for anybody to pick up is you kind of have to know your surroundings too. I mean, I could take this mic with me, but I'm not going to, because then I got to unhook it and do all this other stuff. I do for something like this. If it's not hooked up to my camera, I like the XLR mic. I think
Right,
it's I have found less audio delay
right,
doing that than a USB mic. USB mics are sometimes easier. Um, but I think so. For anybody watching this, I would say be careful though about buying. Let me say it this way: I think the most important decision to make about gear is, what is your budget, and then
right.
what do you need it for. It's easy to get caught up into the best. I mean,
That's true.
look. I mean, it's not any accident that you can go to YouTube and type best camera for, and I've done the best mics for live streaming and stuff like that. Best in my opinion, works for me. But you can go broke
You can.
having a lot of YouTubers telling you got to have this, you got to have this, and you got to have this, and they're not going to pay your bills. And so, what's your budget? Have a budget first. And
Right.
then what do you really need it for? Because if you go, man, I love Kevin's mic. I love it. That's the mic for me. And I go, what kind of content do you do? Well, I do like travel films. This ain't going to work for you.
It's not gonna work. It's
It's
not
not
gonna
going to work for
work.
you. So it's kind of like, it may be a different mic that you can do like 2 or 3 different things with. Might cost a little bit more, might not. I've also bought used gear. I don't have an issue with that. Depending on what it is. I've
Right.
bought used lenses. I've bought. I mean, I've gotten some camera deals and things like that. Computers I usually don't buy used. But again, I think you got to know what you want it for and how much you really have to spend because you can go broke fast.
Right. And
Big
Mark is
time.
like the gear I want versus the gear I
Oh,
need versus the
yeah,
gear I want. Like it's so true. It's so
yeah,
true.
yeah, yep.
I had to make a decision, no more things in the studio. Then I bought the television. Like my wife is like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, well, and you know what? I mean, that's an easy trap to fall into. It's
It
like,
is.
I love my setup and I love that, but I am a sucker for studio tours. I am a sucker for work from home desk video setups and stuff like
Right.
that. So there's always that thing. It's like, ooh, well, that's kind of cool. And rather than just leave things alone, I would say I've never really put this on paper, but probably a lot of the things I've changed have had so little effect on people watching. It's
Right.
things that I just don't care for.
Right.
And it's like, why in the world? What did it matter?
It is so true. So I'm gonna end with this. If there was, Kevin, a piece of equipment, something you saw on a desk tour, which all the desk tours I've ever seen, it doesn't look like they do any work on their desk because my desk don't look like that at all. I can't tour my
Yeah,
desk because
yeah.
I would be ashamed of all. I have very poor wire management. Like it's very poor. I mean, like my roadcaster has three
Oh,
mics plugged in,
oh
and
yeah,
two of them are just kind of hanging. So when I do pull my S7B over, guess what? I just plug it right in. But the
yeah,
cord is right
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
I
I don't
have
show
a
underneath my desk.
right, like I have this one cord. Let me see if I can pull it out real quick. Um, I was into the Boyer mics, the Boyer M1
Yeah.
microphone, the lapel. Like I
Yep.
really, really like that mic on my when I'm doing mobile phone. Like you just
Longest
use your.
cord I've ever seen in my life on a
Oh
mic.
my goodness!
You can
But
run
I
it
absolutely
between, like,
love them.
between
But they
North Carolina and
also
South
have
Carolina.
a DSLR microphone.
Yeah.
Did you know that lapel?
Yep. Yeah.
And
Rode's got it nicely. Yep.
it really sounds good. And I don't know why it won't come out of here right now. Like I have so many wires and cords. It is the biggest
Yeah.
lapel ever. Where
Yeah.
you
I'm
at?
not gonna win any awards for cable management under my desk, and I've got a standing desk, one of those that go up and
I
down,
do too.
and so I've wrapped it to a point where nothing will unplug. That's my goal, On the way up, I don't wanna I just lose all the power.
Like literally, Kevin, there's so much stuff here that is wrapped up. I can't even pull the microphone. I don't even know where the mic is. Like it's in here somewhere. It is ridiculous. If
I
I
wouldn't
now
even
I need the top down version so you can
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
see what I have going on. Like I can only get the back of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
back of it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
where
that was
is
the
this
other thing
microphone?
too, I was trying to rig up some top down, shot for this desk that I would leave all the time. And I thought, you know what? I don't even do that many top down shots. I've got a tripod that's got an arm that'll pop out for a top down. I can just pull it over and shoot what I need to for that. So that's also, if I need something for those one offs, that's what I set it up for, as opposed to just trying to like junk up everything for my, one time. I might use it once in every 6 months. You
That's
found your
true.
mic.
I did. I did. And it's like I said, the biggest lapel mic you ever want to have. But to be
Goodness.
honest with you, before I got the Sennheiser, this one, and it's not going to sound like a SM7B, but in the studio, it did have a nice quality sound for the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you. So when I was looking at Boyer, it has a XLR on the end.
Yep.
And it was a nice setup. So I do have a couple of backup mics, and if I, wanted to get the mic out of the shot, I have this black T-shirt on, and
Flip it on.
but then you get into this problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna on my T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's gonna take it down. Look.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
man,
one
that
of the
doesn't look
things
good.
that I've also got the Rode wireless Go 2 mics, and when I've tried to clip them on my T-shirt before, it looks like I'm trying to be like, some 70s,
Right.
sitcom sexy guy,
With
and
the
I
like
don't have
we're
that
old
kind of
enough to
stuff.
remember beepers, right? Like you got a beeper on your shirt. Like what is
Yeah,
that?
hang on, my pager's going off. What? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I know I've taken a lot of your time tonight. And
No, that's
Mr.
fine.
Riley said the studio tours are dangerous to watch. I can only watch for a short period of time. My wallet is in my hand. That is so true.
Just
And
take my
I'm
money.
hoping that people that are watching this live and watching in a replay, that you guys will do me a favor. If you click the like button, if you got something out of this today, Kevin has done such a great job of kind of explaining some stuff. If you heard something from him today that resonates with you, Kevin, can you give them ways that they can get in contact with you as a
Absolutely.
coaching
Yeah.
client?
Yeah. You can always check out my YouTube channel. I'd love you to check it out. It's Kevin Kolbe on YouTube. And if there, hopefully there's something on there that'll help you, say hey in a comment. But my website is kevinkolbe.com. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me. I mean, there's a contact form on there. I hang out on Twitter, but that's about it. So any one of those would be great. And
I didn't
hopefully,
know you were on Twitter.
Yeah, I am on Twitter. It's Kevin Kolbe Dude on Twitter. There's another Kevin Kolbe on there, and he's in the military. So I appreciate his service, and I'm not about to approach him and say, "Hey, can I have my name, please?"
I got you.
Yeah, but I really enjoy this. I hope something I said made sense. But I absolutely love being on with you.
No, we have a great time together, and I'm going to have you back. We got some more things that we're going to do the rest of this year. So don't get comfortable not being here. Be comfortable being here.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Hey, guys, thank you so very much for hanging out with us tonight. We have more coming next week. It is Super Bowl Sunday, but Kevin, I'm thinking I'm coming on live anyway. I'm going to be here with you Super Bowl Sunday, and we can hang out. For all of us who don't care about the Super Bowl, guess what? We can talk, we can hang out, and be here together. Kimberly G, thank you for being part of the Stream Show tonight.
Hey, this is DJ Strick, and I would like to thank you for watching another edition of the Stream Show.